Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. This is going to be awesome. We are back live again. It has been not quite a month, but it feels like it's been way longer than a month. I've got a lot of things going on, but that's okay. And that's probably why it feels like a long time to me, but it's all is well. And mostly I'm just excited to be back here with you guys again and just having fun, hanging out. There's no real rhyme or reason, no agenda to this. I almost called it a call. You can tell I've been in a lot of calls this week. Been busy work week. But in this show, as we have this live, a live show on YouTube is not unlike a Zoom call, of which I attend more than my fair share. But this is a lot of fun, and I'm really thankful to be. Not that those aren't fun, don't get me wrong. But it's just a blast to be with you. If you are watching the replay and you're like, "Dang it, I missed this again. What do I need to do?" Part of it is definitely make sure hit the bell notification, select all. But the problem is YouTube just sometimes doesn't serve out the notifications, and it's kind of weird. And I don't know if it's an algorithm thing. I don't know if it's a malfunction thing, but it's been happening for years. I've heard it from people all over the globe. So I just don't know what can be done, if anything. I'd be poisoned. Welcome in. Yeah, I hope everybody's having a great day. Hit the thumbs up on the way in the door if you wouldn't mind, and give us a shout out. Let me know you're there and what you're up to. Obviously, if you have any questions, anything you want to talk about, ask those. I'm just going to do what I usually do, and that's chit chat. I can talk. That's one thing I'm very good at. Not necessarily speaking coherently, saying anything of value, or even being entertaining, but I can make sound. It's something that I have been either accused of or encouraged of my entire life. So whatever you guys want to talk about is fair game in the world of audio stuff or vintage stuff. Jody, welcome in. Marcus, welcome in. So glad you guys can make some time to be there with me on this Friday evening in Central Florida, where it's currently 88 degrees and nearly 8 p.m. And it's just been so hot. We're not even into summer yet. And this is my second go around of summer here in Florida since moving here. It's obviously humidity, they say, is the big thing, the difference, right? So 88 degrees in Denver can be hot, but it's just a different level here. You go outside, you got full humidity, like 70, 80, 90, 100% humidity, and it's like a sauna. It's like a sauna. And it doesn't cool off. Like, back in Denver, it's like you may have a really hot day, but you just wait till nighttime and it cools off and all's hunky-dory. It'll probably cool off to 80 degrees tonight. You know what I mean? Still full humidity. And so you have to have air conditioning. It's just the way it is. But it's also a blessing because we don't, have the freezing, bone-chilling cold either. Ivy Poison says, I recently had a great score at my local Goodwill. I miss Goodwills. We have there's a few thrift stores, good ones up in Orlando. But if you live outside of the, city center, if you're in any of the outskirts, then the thrift store options are very limited, which is a bummer. But it sounds like you got a good find. 45s there for Dade. Wow. And a 78. Congratulations. That's awesome. Marcus says, anything new in the pipeline, Glenn Miller wise? Glenn Miller wise. So big news for the Glenn Miller fans is that, so there's two CDs that are coming out or have come out. The first one is available today. It's the new band. So it's the current band. It's the current Glenn Miller Orchestra. I think they're based out of Lake Mary, Florida, but it's the same band owned by Glenn Miller Productions, licensed through the family. It's the official band that's been on the road since 1954, 55, something like that. And they've gone through a number of leaders. They had for many years up until COVID, they had Nick Hilscher leading it, and he was my absolute favorite. Did some deep catalog stuff, and I got to know him. He's a friend of mine now, and was my favorite leader of the band. Now they've got somebody else that's leading the band and doing a fine job in their own right. And under the tutelage of that leader, they have a new CD out, and I'm trying to find the name of it for you. And it's worth a listen. I'm not going to buy a copy. I don't like it enough to buy a copy, but I do have it in my Apple Music playlist. It is called 80th Anniversary of the Army Air Force Band. by the Glenn Miller Orchestra. And what they did is they took some of the band material and re-recorded it. And it's interesting. They've got some great selections on here. I think Crystal Gale does Sentimental Journey, which is not a Glenn Miller song. It's a Les Brown song. So that's one thing. That CD is out. It's also on streaming. That's how I've been listening to it. And then also the upcoming, and this is the big thing, is the Glenn Miller Limited Edition Volume 1. And that's not referencing the old 50s record box set. This is a new CD. And it's a 2-disc set, I believe. And they've gone back and they've taken source material that's never been heard. It's been remastered. I've heard some of the samples, pre-production samples. It's incredible sound quality and sonic wise. You have never heard the band like this before and may never hear it again. Actually, hopefully we'll hear a lot more like it because they're planning on doing some more. That is being offered through the Glenn Miller Birthplace Society of Clarinda, Iowa. You have to go on their website, look up Google search Glenn Miller Birthplace Society. You can go down. There's a form and you can order that. You can buy it online. It hasn't shipped yet. It's on back order. They have released the liner notes. It's like a 64-page PDF. But that is going to be big. Personally, Glenn Miller-wise, I don't think I've got any new Glenn Miller stuff lately. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've got any new Glenn Miller stuff lately. Old Radio's welcome in. Yeah, the tornadoes, I've heard they're pretty bad everywhere. Almost 80 degrees here in New Jersey yesterday, but today's cold and raining. So at least you get a break. You know what I mean? Like there's a variety there. I got nothing to look forward to but extreme heat. Actually, I love it. And my wife and I were just talking about this not too long ago. We're like, it's the grass is always greener. You know, when you're in Colorado freezing to death, 90 degrees every day sounds wonderful. Then when you're actually having 90 degrees, you're like, wow, some cool air would be nice. The trick is enjoying where you're at in the moment, right? But no, we're very thankful to be here. This is a huge blessing. Marcus Music Mayhem. I know old radios. Here we are having them a lot. I love old radios as well. The viewer and the product. I've got some old radios now. I need some radios that need fixing. Try the Alafaya area, John Sweeney says. I'm not familiar with where that is. Radio says, did tell you got an SL2000. Did not know that. Or maybe I did. Maybe I forgot. That's cool. Everybody's getting at least one this year. Tornadoes. Ty says, did you see the Beatles' Let It Be movie that was just released on Disney Plus? I thought it was pretty good. Ty, that's a great question. No, I haven't. I know of it. I've seen it there on the Disney Plus banner. It's like the number one thing they're recommending right now. I just, like 2 months ago, excuse me, I just got done watching Get Back, and I thought that was like the exhaustive, better than Let It Be version. And Let It Be was supposed to be, inaccurately portraying a negative vibe. And then I've heard these reviews saying, well, just kidding, it's not that negative after all. So I don't know. I got to go check it out. Is it like super long? Is it like another 6-hour thing, or is it like normal movie length? I got some weird hair today. Every time I turn my head sideways, I get this thing sticking out the back. Dun, 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 dun. What a year for the new Twister movie. So yeah, it's ironic, but I saw the trailer for that. I'm like, yes, I love this. I'm like, is this going to be part of this? Is it called Twisters or something? And I love the original and the score. Man, I was just thinking the other day. Do you remember back in the 90s, you could go to wherever you purchased your music, and at that time, I was consuming almost exclusively compact discs, and you could buy on any given day the soundtrack, which would be the songs that were inserted into the movie, or you could buy a separate score, which was just the orchestral music. And I used to buy those. You can't get that stuff anymore. You just can't get that stuff anymore. Anyway, I've got the score album of Twister. It's beautiful music. That's a great movie. A lot of fun. It's still spooky to me. I had a big thing as a kid where I was terrified of tornadoes. Absolutely. Sorry for the cough, guys. I'm getting over a little cold. A massive, deep fear of it. And in Denver, we would get tornadoes. They mostly be out on the eastern plains, but it would happen. But I used to go out to a scout camp every year out in Elizabeth, Colorado. And it was, it felt, as a kid, it felt like I might as well have been halfway across Kansas in the middle of nowhere with no help in sight. And I remember this one year, I was so nervous. And I decided to combat my fear by educating myself about everything I could learn about tornadoes. So I bought a little weather book, and at the gift shop, they had actually like a little canteen there where you could buy stuff, and they had a little book about tornadoes, and I learned it. And sometimes the tornado siren would go off out there, and it was just horrifying, the sound of it all. So that was sort of in my DNA a bit in terms of being terrified of tornadoes. And now I really, it's just that fear has turned to excitement. So that movie is like really exciting to me. So I love it. But I remember getting back in the days of Good Times and Madison VHS tapes that were recorded at SLP mode and super cheapo. My brother and I were collecting these tornado tapes. It was about the time the movie came out. And so there was this sort of cottage market for cheap videos about anything tornado related, and we bought them all up, and we just sit there and watch tornado footage all day. This is way before YouTube or anything. We just sit there in the living room and just play VHS tapes of footage of tornadoes and learn about it and stuff. All that to say, yes, I'm very excited about it. And you're right, there seems to be having a lot of them lately. Jody says, have you ever bought a record that was out of round? I bought a record store day exclusive that was out of round, and I've heard that's really nothing you can do. Do you mean off center, where it kind of spins like that, and where it's not punched right? Yeah, I've got some that are a little bit like that. Warped records, it does happen. It does happen. Quality control on vinyl records is kind of iffy. Would love to see your Glenn Miller Orchestra CD collection, says Marcus. I need to do a video about that. The thing is, when I go specific into a certain artist or anything like that, it's going to be a very small group of people that would want to see that. But people like you that it means a lot to, it's worth doing. So I'll try to do that again. Every once in a while, I do stuff like that. Yeah, I got some interesting pieces. I apologize for coughing, guys. Gary, welcome in. Late night. You must be a night owl. Do you work nights or something? Thank you for being there. I hope that my soothing voice can put you back to sleep. But I do appreciate you being there. Old Radio says, been busy fixing Elmo 16 millimeter projector. I've got a projector bulb right here. Oops. As I drop stuff on a brand new desk cover that so far doesn't have any scratches until now. As you can see, we got problems. This is out of my Keystone 16 millimeter projector. Silent film projector. I need to get a bulb for this. They don't make this bulb anymore. So trying to find a suitable equivalent is a trick. This has been on my desk all the way back, a year and a half ago in Denver. So this project needs to happen. I'm going to put it right here. Maybe this week I'll get around to it. Ralph says, will you be ordering and reviewing the re-release of the Beatles' Let It Be 20 degrees Celsius here currently in north of UK? I don't think I'll be buying a copy of it. I did get this is the only, I really apologize for the coughing. If it gets too bad, I'll drop off, but I got this as a gift recently. This is the Criterion, or was it Criterion? Yeah, Criterion Collection, Hard Day's Night. Really cool. Like these, if you've ever heard of these Criterion collections, they sell them at like Barnes and Noble, and they're like super like film study versions with, rare prints that are, it's just like premium. It's like, instead of audio file, it's like video file. It's like, extra high quality versions of things. And anyway, I got this, but no, I haven't pre-ordered that. I don't know if I would. I'd probably watch it. I don't think I would want to watch all of Get Back again, as an example. If you do like Beatles stuff, stay tuned. I've got something very, very interesting in the Beatles. Beatles things are happening right now. And I had a fantastic phone call with somebody who's in the know. And unfortunately, I'm not allowed to say some of what I learned. but I learned some amazing things, some of which I'm going to share with you, and some of which are going to go into a video very shortly. Show me Michael Jackson vinyl records. Because you asked. This is the only one I have. Oh, no, I do have another one. I've got a 7-inch The Way You Make Me Feel single. Bad this was a fundamental album to my childhood. I would love to get Thriller. I like it all. I mean, I like a lot of Michael Jackson material. I really do. Soundtracks. You never get those anymore. It's a normal movie length. The first 5 minutes of it's a documentary, and then it goes into a movie. Interesting, Ty. Tim Allen. Haven't talked to you in a while, my friend. Welcome in. Jody says, I recommend Dolly Parton's 2023 album, Rockstar. It's made up of different takes of her singing other people's songs. So I did listen to quite a few songs from that on Apple Music. I didn't care for it as much, actually. I didn't care for it as much. I don't know what to say. I do want the Dolly Parton album that I do want to get is her Diamonds, or I don't know what it's like a greatest hits album. It came out like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago. I think it might be a double disc set, but it is it's got like butterfly and diamonds and a blue cover. But the the Rockstar one, I think the best one was the Let It Be with Paul McCartney. I just wasn't. I kind of like, for Dolly Parton, I like the classics. I like the old stuff. But I should say that I did get the Run Dolly Run. Is it Run? No, Run Rose Run. That was really cool. And then the Christmas album from a few years ago. So I do like some new stuff. John says, I have a VJ Beatles record slightly out of round. I've never heard this phrase, out of round. Does it mean off center? Is that what that means? Act 8113 should be getting the 7-inch single shipped out something next week. Awesome. Sounds fun. Sounds exciting. Old Radio says, I had to replace a melted rubber rollers on my projector. Previous owner thought it was cool to play film with bad rubber rollers. And yeah, when that black rubber goes, it's like it can be a gooey mess. Wyatt, I just showed it. Man. That's the only one. That and somewhere in my 7-inch collection, I've got the Way You Make Me Feel. That's it. I need more. Place where the exciter lamp is supposed to read the audio must still be gummed up. I saw Hard Day's Night in cinema when it came out. That's awesome. I need to watch more of it because even though I have the disc, I've made it for like 30, 40 minutes into it so far. Just hasn't done it. Beyonce's Cowboy Carter. That's a weird one. It's interesting. I think it's an interesting story. I like the buzz of something completely new, sort of shaking it up and being controversial. And there's some entertaining stuff on there. Some weird stuff on there. You know, the one with Willie Nelson. He's like cussing. It's strange. It's weird, but it's entertaining anyway. Ralph Reinhardt, welcome in. Show me the Polar Express CD. Why are you the one that always asks me about the Polar Express vinyl? I don't have it yet. I do have the CD, but it's helplessly entangled in a stack of unlabeled slip cases. So you would be sitting there for a long time waiting for it. It would be neat fun. But I do have that. I love the Polar Express. Absolutely. And I'm sick in that I listen to Christmas music all year. I was listening to Sia's Christmas album today. Music Junkie says, hi, Record-ology. Expect some Jamaican 45s in the mail. Man, I haven't got any viewer mail in so long, you guys, because it's a bummer. I get so blown away by all the cool stuff you guys send, and it's been a while, and I'm excited to see what you guys send. Jamaican 45 sound really, really cool. I love that. I love Jamaican stuff. That's awesome. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. You guys have been so generous. I can't believe the things that viewers have sent in. Turntables, Techniques, direct drive turntables, vintage turntables, all sorts of records, CDs, tapes, 8-tracks. Incredible. So thank you in advance. And thank you for listening to me be facetiously sarcastic. Tried my best to clean it. Might have to send it to North Carolina. Is there like a shop there that deals with those? Ty says, I really like Dolly Parton's Bluegrass album. Which one is that? I'm going to have to give that another listen. There's so many Dolly Parton albums. Do you know that Vinyl Me Please actually has a Dolly Parton Record of the Month club where it's nothing but Dolly Parton? No joke. Jerry, thank you so much for the hype, man. Yeah, if we could get them some thumbs up, that would be awesome. I would sure appreciate it. Marcus says, picked up the Glenn Miller 2 CD set licensed by the. You picked it up. You didn't get it yet because it hasn't shipped, right? If it's shipped, I want photo proof emailed to me, and then I'm gonna go find out why nobody else has got theirs. If you just ordered it, that's cool. You're kind of in the same boat as a lot of us. Marcus says, also, I am also going to Graceland. Make me so jealous. First, you got the Glenn Miller CD. Now you're going to Graceland. Can't wait to go to Sun Studios. Yeah, that's going to be incredible. My dad and I, huge Elvis fans, and I will absolutely be going into Graceland at some point in my life. Bucket list item for sure. Yeah, Ralph. So glad you're here, man. So glad you're here. Groovy Lisa, welcome all. Hello. Love the Purple Hearts. Thank you for being there. Might send you a Glenn Miller promo 45. That's cool. Don't have one of those yet. Thank you. Old radios. I found somebody was going to send me a Patsy Cline 78, and it never showed up. So if you're out there, please. Although I am so thankful that I did find off camera here, but the Coral, I finally found one. I've been looking for years for this record. I was going to get it on 78. But then I learned that, and I used, this has been an incredible, for the Patsy Cline collector, this book, and no, that's not a real signature, even though people all the time think it is. But if you think about it, something that came with compact discs is probably not going to have an actual signature from somebody who passed away in 1963. Anyway, there's a discography here that's like killer. It's an absolute, like, for a researcher, a collector, this is absolutely killer. So here's what I learned. I knew I wanted to find her first record, which is Church, Courtroom, Then Goodbye on the A side, and Honky Tonk Merry-Go-Round on the B side. It's Coral 61414, released on July 20th, 1955. This is so early in her career. She was still living in Virginia, hadn't even moved to Nashville yet. And as you can see, we got a label for a 78, and that was my understanding that those first few records, especially the Coral ones, which were the first three, were only on 78s. Well, come to find out, they were not. They were also released on 45s, and they happen to be a little bit more affordable on 45. Still an expensive record, but I picked up this 45. It was a radio station issue, so there's some notes written on the label. I don't care. I framed it. And my wife was messing with it. She's like, you said you were never going to frame records. That records aren't for framing, they're for listening to. And I'm like, you're right. But this is so special. I didn't even play it. I thought I was going to clean it and play it. I opened it up. It was immaculate. I've got the song a million places elsewhere. There's no reason to play it. So I framed it and hung it on the wall. And I'm glad I did. I love it. Then I'm like, well, if I have her first record up there, how about her first album? And you can see just off here. And I've shown pictures of this stuff, and it's been in the background of my intros for a while. I happen to have her first album from 1957, the original 1957 version. Most versions of this album are the 1960 reissue with the rainbow Decca label. This is the original silver and black label. The bummer of this record is that it's got permanent fingerprints, that like greased fingerprints in a couple places on the playing surface. It still plays okay. I think it's a styrene record too, which is a weird thing. Doesn't sound the best. I've got like 3 other versions of this record that are more listenable, but this is the only one with the original label, and this is the original issue, 1957. There's no hype on it. You know what? Here, I'm just gonna tilt this over a little bit. Okay, so you can see it. There's no hype sticker, as you can see. There would be, there we go. There would be a hype thing here saying featuring Walking After Midnight. It does not have that. That indicates that it's an original version. Any hype stuff that's printed on means that it is probably a reissue. And as you can see, that dark silver and black label. So I figured since I had the first album or the first single, also put up the album. So I got that frame too. And I'm going to really, and then I was thinking, my mind starts going like, well, wait a minute. Then I got this rare version of this, and then I got this, and that would be good to frame. And I got to stop hanging stuff on the walls, and I got to stop framing my records. So anyway, but it is cool. I really did enjoy it. I did a quick video on that. I don't think anybody watched it, but yeah, lots of fun stuff going on. Dun, 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 dun. I found an RCA Victor 45 player radio last month. That's cool. What do you think of the Beatles cover band? There's a few of them. I really, really, really like that one that doesn't try to look like them, and they play all this stuff that the Beatles made after they stopped touring. What are they called? You guys are going to have it in the comments before I can look it up. They sound exactly like the Beatles. What are they called? You guys are going to punch it in before I even get to it, but I've got it here on my thing. Come on, what are you? Who are you? Come on. How can I look this up? I can't think of what they are. Shoot. Somebody's going to have it in the comments. All right, I'm going down to the comments. Somebody's got this. Oh, come on. Nobody got that? All right, that's it. I'm going to have to Google it. There's a couple amazing cover bands. Analogs. The Analogs. If you look up the Analogs on YouTube, prepare to be blown away. They look I think they're Dutch. They look nothing like the Beatles. They don't try to, but they are able to, note for note, inflection by inflection, recreate the songs that were never performed live. So the later half of the Beatles' career, it's astonishing. Fab Four is another fantastic tribute band. I would love to see those guys live. Do I have a copy of it? I actually got to do something very cool recently. My wife surprised me with tickets to Always Patsy Cline. And I have known about this show for years. It seems like it's always playing somewhere. It's very popular. It's been around since, I think, 94, maybe even earlier than that. That's when it opened at the Ryman. And it was great. It was like we were in the fourth row. And the person that was playing Patsy Cline did a great job. And you really felt like you were going to see the real Patsy Cline. And it wasn't just a concert. It was like a show. It was this amazing story. She had a number of pen pal relationships with people where she would just chat. And so this lady in Houston befriended her. And it's a story about how they met each other and then their kind of pen pal relationship. So that was a huge blessing to go see that. That was so much fun. In fact, I liked it so much I bought the CD of the soundtrack to the Ryman original, which I can't wait to get. Super Z Dog, it's been a hot minute since I've been able to make it to your stream. I'm glad to be here. I'm so glad you're there too. Thank you. I'm appreciative of every one of you, especially on a Friday night. I'm sure you guys have a lot better things to do than hang out with me, but I appreciate you being there. I really enjoy these times. It's just hanging out with friends. It's a blast. Thank you so much, everybody, for being there or watching the replay or the videos. Wyatt says, I have New Kids on the Block hanging tough on picture. Oh, that's cool. I love New Kids on the Block. I've got a CD of theirs. I've been talking about CDs a lot tonight. But I would love a record of New Kids on the Block. Yeah, hanging tough. Man, that's so good. I love that stuff. I loved it. Jerry says, you look good. Have you been working out? I have been, although I've been working out for the last several years. But I've had a couple of health issues over the last 6 months or so that have sort of facilitated me continuing to improve my overall health. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you very much, Jerry. I appreciate that. Dolly Parton's bluegrass album is called Grass is Blue, and that would make sense. So I will look that up. Thank you so much, Ty. Do you have the 4 CD set, Marcus says? Of which? Hold on, Marcus, the complete Patsy Cline. Yes, that the Patsy Cline collection is the 4-disc set. There's probably another one called the complete Patsy Cline, but yes, I do, and this is the book from it. As I throw something on the floor, I've got. You can pick these up if you keep your eyes peeled. You can pick up this set, and it is the best. It's the closest thing to a complete set, and it's full of pictures and helps if I'm showing to the camera. It's just really cool. A lot of interview stuff, anecdotal information, even color pictures and things. But the discography in the back is absolutely killer. Like the discography is worth the price of admission. But you can pick these up for like, oh gosh, $15-20 if you keep your eyes peeled. So I've even seen them as low as 10 at a record shop once. Thankfully, they printed millions of them, millions. So they're not rare. And it is the most comprehensive and best. If you had to get only one, if I had to go to a desert island and take one Patsy Cline release with me, that would be it. Some very rare stuff on there, but it's weird. They could have fit every song she ever recorded, which wasn't that much. But she had a short career because it was tragically cut short. But instead of including every song, they took out 10 songs that she recorded in the studio and instead put in some live versions of stuff. So it's got some live stuff, but it omits about 10 songs. So it's kind of a weird thing. It could have been a complete collection. I'm looking over here because I got it. I've also got the cassette version as well. John says, which is better, belt-driven or direct-drive turntables? It's a matter of opinion. I like both of them. Right now, I've got the PLX 500 direct drive over here, AT-LP Go belt drive right here, and then the Technics SLB5 belt drive up there. And there's people that are direct drive, forever, and then there's people that are belt drive forever. Traditionally, direct drive has been the choice of people that are in the like sub $1,000 market, but the realm of super high end, ridiculous, 10, 20, 30, $100,000 turntables have always been belt driven. If you look up the super ridiculous ones, they're always belt driven. The audiophiles will tell you that is the way to go because in theory and in practice, as I always say, which covers my butt. That way, if it's true or not, it's not my fault if it's wrong. In theory and in practice, the motor vibration noise is isolated from the cartridge because the belt absorbs that vibration. That being said, direct drive motors are much better. They're much more advanced. Typically, direct drive motors from like the 70s were associated with platter rumble and noise and things like that. And I just don't think it's happening that much anymore. But I'm an entry level channel. So we very, very rarely dip into higher end stuff. On my level, this is a $320, $360 turntable with a direct drive motor on $260 speakers and $100 preamp. If I were to swap that out with a direct belt drive version, I wouldn't hear any difference. To my ears with my equipment, wouldn't hear any difference. So I don't really have a preference. I think belt drives are cool. I also don't mind external belt drives that you have to touch the belt, they're exposed. I don't think it's a problem. Everything's so subjective though. And people have been doing, this hobby for so long that they have developed very strong opinions. And, so they'll tell you their way is right and your way is wrong. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Whatever you want is the right one. And they're both interesting. I think they're both really, really interesting. The ones that are really interesting to me are the ones that have the platter itself is part of the motor. The only one I have like that is that Technics SLD1 direct. It is direct drive, but it's also a linear tracker turntable given to me by a viewer. Incredible gift. But the platter, if you pull up the platter, it's part of the motor rotor, which is fantastic and interesting. Old Radio's got a 1898 Edison Home next Excuse me. Getting an 1898 Edison home next month. That's incredible. Congratulations. Where do we find your P.O. box address, Record-ology? Ralph, thank you for asking. It is in if you go to the About tab, although is it still an About tab? I'll put it in the comments. I don't know if we have a moderator on tonight or not, but let me go ahead and I'll just paste this in. Let's see here. Let me turn down the volume so that my trailer doesn't blast in my face as soon as I go to the home page. I'm going to put it in the thing. So yeah, it's in the About tab for the channel on YouTube. And I don't think I'm putting it in the subject of the descriptions of videos anymore, just because if and when that changes again, I don't want it to be inaccurate. But there it is. I just put it in the comments. You got to get a mini disc machine that still records. Man, I've been so disappointed and bummed with mini disc. It's a cool format, but I've just had the terrible luck with it. I've bought like 3 or 4 portables. All of them have had problems, broken down. I've got this beautiful looking and sometimes playing JE510 Sony component unit. Corrupts after 45 minutes of recording. I even replaced the transport. I want to like it. I really do. Originally, I was using mini disc to record the ambient sounds when I would listen to like movie sounds and stuff to fall asleep at night. I was doing that, and then I went to tape. Tape was too loud. In a quiet room with your wife trying to fall asleep next to you. Excuse me. Any mechanical noise, a big no-no. So I went to MP3 players because there's no moving parts. So it made a lot more sense. Marcus says, I also picked up the complete Glenn Miller. I love the set. Thank you so much for recommending it to me. Oh, that's great. The CD set or the vinyl set? They're both kind of the same, but that's great. I love that set too. Why do I have New Kids on the Block 30th anniversary vinyl picture disc? That's awesome. All it's missing is a Sister Souljah poster. I think you were telling me about this guy before, this band. Jerry says, I like belt drive, but direct drive, the good ones are good too. I would agree. And you've got a lot of torque in there's a lot of torque and it speeds up really quick. If you're a DJ doing DJ work, scratching, and you're still using a turntable for that, then yeah, I mean, the direct drive is the way to go. If you're listening, you're just a listener, and you don't have speakers that cost more than your house, either one would be fine. You can't scratch on a belt drive. Sorry, I'm so behind on comments, guys. I actually do have a couple things I want to update you on, too, after we get through comments. But I appreciate reading these. It's so fun. I just love chatting with you guys. I'm so far behind. I'm so far behind. Okay. I got that Brunswick Chirping Crickets. Is that a record? Literally playing Chirping Crickets. I want to get the laughing record, too. Music Junkie says, always direct drive for me. Mid-roll alert. Sorry, guys. YouTube and their mid-roll ads lately, we have less control over them than we used to. Thank you for watching them. Technics SL2000, the GOAT. I saw somebody selling one of those for like not too much money recently. A Garrard RC80 for 78s. That's a good idea. One belt drive I would want is an Empire. I've got an Empire cartridge. I need to get the needle for it. What do you think of Kraftwerk, the electronic Beatles? I've never heard of that before. What about Captain Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters? Never heard of it. Empire 298. Cleaning records and checking out your show. I like it. That's a good combination. And my droning voice will help pass the time. Because you know what? If you're using a spin clean or anything, that's a lengthy project. You know what I mean? You could be clean 3 records or 30 records, and it is an hour and a half doing a spin clean. It's like a commitment. It's like, all right, I'm going to get out the spin clean. I'm going to do this. Now, the output is worth it because it cleans records so well. Incidentally, about this record over here I was telling you about with the fingerprints, I tried everything I could think of short of ultrasonic cleaning just because I don't have an ultrasonic cleaner. I tried topical things. I tried, obviously I don't want to destroy the record. It's like a prize record. I tried the spin clean. Only record I've ever had the spin clean couldn't just make brand new. And I think I read somewhere that those fingerprints can become kind of permanent if it's a greasy fingerprint that hasn't dealt with. Now, you would be hard pressed in its current presentation to see it. You would have to take it out in bright daylight and the right angle. Oh yeah, I kind of see it there. And it doesn't impact the sound at all. So yeah, it's probably not a super valuable record, but it's a fairly rare one, and I enjoy having it. And it looks pristine. Like the groove condition, the wear is like it's an excellent condition record. It's just those darn stupid fingerprints. I'm going to jump down because, like a legend, Mike Carson has just gifted us a super chat saying that he loves the show. And Mike, I love you and all of the viewers out there. Thank you so much for that. That's huge. It really goes a long way to help support the channel. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for being there. We're not done. I just wanted to stop and say thank you real quick to Mike. Huge blessing. And I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Old radios. Heard this week I'm pre-diabetic. Oh, take care of that for sure. Yeah, fix that if you can. Absolutely. What are your thoughts on Cracker Barrel exclusive albums, says Jody. I like them. I think they're really cool. In fact, back to Patsy Cline again, I've got 1 or 2 Patsy Cline exclusive Cracker Barrel releases. And what I like about Cracker Barrel is you can go there and buy everything from the Beatles to Luther Vandross and Tom Petty. And you know what I mean? They've got an interesting collection of stuff. It's really cool. So yeah, I'm all for anything that's an exclusive. I'm a sucker for that. Like this is the exclusive so-and-so version. Or I think that's fun. Getting less sugar, carbs, and walk more. And that's sort of been kind of, if you had to summarize my goals from a health standpoint over the last, several months, that's kind of been the leading thing. This is really trying to eliminate sugar. One thing that I found, I'm not going to go into talking about diet and health stuff because that's clearly not the right source for that material, and I don't want to advise anybody wrongly. But for me, looking for sugars that I can easily cut out that I'm not going to miss, like sodas, I was able to walk away from that years ago and say, like, you know what, I just don't want soda. I don't care. I don't crave it usually. If I do, I would do it. From a digestive standpoint, now I'm not supposed to have carbonation, so I don't drink soda from that reason as well. But that was something that was easy. And that's something a doctor told me too. It's like, instead of going nuts and trying to restrict yourself to the point where you're going to rebound, which everybody would at some point, just cut out stuff you don't mind. You know what I mean? Like minimize it. If you do 3 things normally, make it 2. And eventually, especially if you have a weight that isn't changing, then, the math of the situation is that you're going to eventually go down. So I started cutting out everything that I didn't need. And soda was an easy one for me. Carbs, it's a little harder. Obviously, sugar are carbs and all that stuff. But yeah. So prayers for you and everybody else is going through. Everybody's got a struggle, right? And we're all in this together. So, hang in there. Stay encouraged. And I appreciate all the encouragement everybody's been giving me as well. It's iced tea and coffee and sparkling water kind of summer. That sounds good. Sounds really good. Gary just ordered the Fluence RT83. That's a good buy. That's a really good buy. I don't think I've ever played with the RT83. I've played with the 80, 81. Have I had the 81? No, maybe just the 80 and the 85. Maybe those are the only 2. But they're great. I love Fluence stuff. The quality is just, it's amazing. I don't know what company makes the turntables, but it's a good OEM and it's not handpin. Not that handpin's bad. Handpin's great, but it's not handpin. The Fluence speakers are my favorite. And I haven't reviewed millions of speakers by any means, but I've reviewed quite a few powered speakers at this point, and the best I've ever laid ears on are these Fluence AI41s with I think it's a 5 or 6 inch glass woven sub, and not sub, but driver, and then the silk dome tweeter. I think they're 45 watts each, so 90 watt total. They've got the sub out. I've got a cheap subwoofer, and they sound so bright, and crisp, and so rich, especially with the sub. It just puts everything else to shame. So yeah, anything Fluence, and they've got some amazing speaker setups. I would love to review more. I would love it. Larry, we do have a mod on. Thank you for moderating, Larry. Appreciate it. Hello, chat and Record-ology. By the way, a little reminder, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, would appreciate that. Doesn't cost anything. Really helps us out. Lets YouTube know that people are actually watching, which I appreciate. Old Radio's out walking today. I got my first heckler. Okay. Is that good or bad? Vinyl Serenity. I like that. I love my Audio-Technica 240 direct drive. That must be a vintage unit. Sounds cool, though. Music Junkie. I just ordered my Sony PSX55. Oh, I just had my Sony PSX55 service. Repair guy couldn't fix the issue for which I brought in the unit to begin with, but somehow the issue fixed itself. This always happens to me when I would go to, when I was working a desk job in corporate, which I still work in corporate. I have a day job, but I am blessed to be able to work from home now. But back when I was in the office, every time I would be having a computer problem and I'd go to the IT guy, it wouldn't happen again. It was magically okay. As soon as he looked at it, they're like, yeah, right, buddy. You weren't having a problem. What CD do you have of New Kids on the Block? I have it's like a greatest hits that came out maybe in 2012, and it's got kind of everything that it's a good CD. I'm looking over there because it's on the shelf. It's got pretty much everything. Do I have my tape of Hangin' Tough still? I wore that thing out. That and Michael Jackson's Bad. I literally wore those out. After you brought it home. Oh, it would have been more frustrating if you paid the guy to fix it, and that would be annoying. The whole thing's annoying when it doesn't work out that way. But at least you got it working. That's the biggest thing. Vinyl Serenity does not have a new album coming out. New video just hit recently. I've seen some of their newer stuff, and I think it's cool that they're still out making music. But the early stuff is what I like. The early stuff. Do you have any Frank Sinatra vinyls? I do have some Frank Sinatra records. They're right over there in the sort of Americana pop vocal section. I haven't had the opportunity to partner with United Music. But we got a mid-roll coming. Mid-roll warning. I won't say anything too important while it's running, I hope. But anyway, we partnered with those guys for a release of a Frank Sinatra record. That was a lot of fun. And the rep I was working with went elsewhere, and I was never able to do that again, unfortunately. Was trying to do something like that for the Patsy Cline stuff, and I wasn't able to do that either. I got as far as to be on the press wire thing where they would tell you about stuff coming, and they said there's something coming up for her, and it was like the 90th anniversary of her birth or something like that. And I never found out what it was, and then all of a sudden they released yet another cover version, another version of her greatest hits album from '67 with a different cover, which is kind of a bummer. It's like, really? Like, okay, I have 78 versions of that album, not literally, but it would be nice to do something that hasn't been done a lot, and that one has. I have no idea how I got on that tangent. No idea. Frank Sinatra. Yes, love Frank Sinatra. I need to show more of the Frank Sinatra stuff. I need to get more Frank Sinatra too. Larry says, go to his main page. It has the address, and I put it in the comments here as well. Thank you so much. Yoshi the Bird is very hyped up right now. So if you hear him cheeping in the background, my apologies. Music Junkie says direct drive all the way. Hit the thumbs up, says Ivan. Thank you so much, Ivan. I got some no highs, no lows, must be bows. I haven't heard that in a while. Just a minute. I'm going to go close the door so the bird isn't screaming. La 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 la. All right. That's coming back. Hello. Are you there? You've been out for a few hours. It's like coming back from a dream sequence. This is a nightmare sequence because you're seeing my face like, ah, what have I done to deserve this? Who is this guy? Yeah. Bose is interesting because I remember when it came out, like the Bose Wave Music Radio or whatever it was called, it did sound good. I thought it sounded good, and they were super expensive, and they were like popular. And you'd go into the like Sears, and they'd have one set up with these satellite speakers on these arms, and it was very, very impressive. Then when I got into professional audio, this camera's wonky. Sorry, it's because I keep fiddling with it. When I got into pro audio and systems integration, come to find out that people said that wasn't that good of stuff. So it's kind of interesting how that worked. In terms of like, if you saw Bose in a professional install environment, it was not a good thing. And that's what they would say. No highs, no lows, must be Bose. That's funny. Idler Drive next, says Music Junkie. Yeah, we reviewed a ton of Idler Drive. I think there is rumble with Idler Drive. I think it's hard to pull that off. You don't see that anymore. It's an interesting way to do it, though. But all those BSRs and everything, those are all Idler Drive. Ivan says, if you go Technics, you'll never go back. So it's interesting. So I got my Technics SLB5 up here. I love this. For a while, I was calling this my forever turntable. And I would not get rid of it unless it was irreparably damaged. It's a beautiful turn. Is it perfect? No. It's not perfect. Just because it's Technics doesn't mean it's perfect. But it's nearly perfect, okay? This thing sounds wonderful. It's got a little bit more platter wobble than I would like. It's a pretty dadgum accurate motor speed locked in. Doesn't have quartz lock, but it's a stacker. So I can, it just does everything. I love it. I absolutely love it, especially the way I got it. It's an amazing story. I've been thinking about doing a show about my Technics turntables that I've owned. So I've had this. I've had the SLD1 direct drive linear, which is fantastic. I've had the SLBD22, which I still have. I gave it in. That's the one that had the broken arm that was repaired by a jeweler and like meticulously realigned. And I just keep getting distortion out of it. It will play clear, and then all of a sudden distortion will build up in it. I've replaced the cartridge. I've tried all these things. So a love-hate relationship with that. I've had the SLBD20, which is like the similar thing without the strobe markings, or it's done differently or something. Those two, I was kind of thinking maybe I should rank them, like do a show, my Technics turntables ranked, and I've reviewed a few others as well. The one that I haven't is the one that everybody, the 1200 series, $1,000 turntables. I haven't had those yet, but I'm perfectly happy with the Pioneer PLX 500. It's a great. Again, it's also got a hair platter wobble, but it's a fun one. But yeah, I would go back. And Technics is sort of built up as this incredible. It's Panasonic. You know what I mean? Like cars have luxury brands, like Toyota has Lexus, Honda has Acura. Chevrolet has Cadillac, Ford has Lincoln, all this stuff. Technics was the Panasonic's premium brand. And not to say that makes it bad, but I think it's important to keep it in perspective. There are bad Technics turntables. There are good turntables, a lot of them that aren't Technics. That's what I've learned. Yeah, absolutely. The branding and I think a lot of it has to do with reputation too, but Technics is sort of revered as this next to holiness level equipment. And sometimes I think it's a bit overrated. That's my personal opinion. I could be wrong. I usually am. Gary says he loves Patsy Cline. Gary, you're welcome here. Everybody's welcome here, even if you don't like Patsy Cline. Music Junkie, high-end Technics, although it did make some very good low-level units, such as the SLQD33 during the 80s. Excellent turntable for beginners. One thing I do like about vintage Technics, too, is that you can buy them cheap. And that's something that I think a lot of people don't realize. You can get an SLBD series turntable like 1986, 87, 88 era turntable for $40 all day long. I mean, they're available. They're all over the place. So yeah, that's something to consider. Now, I've done shows before about should you go vintage or not. And some people swear by vintage, like only vintage. You only go vintage. You never buy anything new unless it's Technics. And the problem with that is that sometimes, vintage units need things that not everybody can do comfortably or can afford. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not talking about, it's going to need a preamp. I'm talking about it needs capacitors or it needs new this or new that. Some people don't want to deal with that. If you're just getting into a hobby, can you imagine? It's like, I want to start collecting. I want to get into model railroading. And the community says to you, oh, don't go buy a new one. Whatever you do, don't go buy a new one. Get vintage. And then, the vintage ones are all broken. You'll have to fix them. It's like, can you imagine you just starting in a hobby and you're being told that you need to go buy the broken stuff? Now, obviously, that's not what people mean. They want you to get good ones that are old. But you have this risk where, older units need repair that needs, investment in addition to the purchase. And I can see that would turn off a lot of people. Additionally, I do think there are good units being made. I really, really do. Can you recommend a good preamp? Gary, we got another preamp review coming, by the way. One just arrived in the mail. Right now, I am running a Duke Audio preamp right here. This is, I'm trying to see the model number. What is this? This is a T4 Plus. If you look it up, it's a funky thing. I've reviewed this. You can check it out. It's a tube preamp. It's got a VU meter. I'm going to go shut the door now, this time for real. I put his blanket on and that wasn't enough. So this time the door has to close. He hears me talking and he's like, he really wants to be involved. So that's a great preamp. I'm using that with the PLX. PLX comes with a built-in preamp, but I'm in this mood right now where I'm enjoying external preamp. Then for the Audio Technica over here, I've got, what is this thing? This is by Ampapa, A-M-P-A-P-A. And it's another tube preamp. What is this? Shoot, I wish I could tell you the model number. If you look up Ampapa, A-M-P-A-P-A, tube preamp on our channel, you'll see a video review of it. And then on the Technics, you're going to kill me on this. There's the Technics is actually using a Crosley P10 preamp. It's just a little solid state thing, very basic. But it's I don't think I have a third tube preamp laying around, but I do need to. It's not a bad preamp. That's the thing about it. I'm sure. I don't know who makes it, but it's a good sounding silent preamp, affordable too. I don't know why the bird's screaming so much. I'm sorry, everybody, if he's annoying. I've heard a lot of people recording music to floppy disks. Oh, that's news to me. Tell me more. Tim Allen says, early Sony mini disc component recorders are the best ones. Some later models had problems. I'm not sure what, mine's a JE510. I think it's like 96-ish. So I've seen ones older. I've seen ones newer. And it's just, I don't know what it is. Like I bought the entire, so it basically it just corrupts 45 minutes into the recording, no matter what disc, whatever you do. And so I'm like, okay, I thought it was a mechanical problem. So I bought a new transport. Actually, I bought an entire new unit on eBay. And I told the guy and said, don't ship the whole thing. Just send me the transport. That was a dumb move. So he shipped just the transport because I thought that's all I needed. And I replaced the transport. And it still had the same problem. So it's clearly the electronics. I probably could have just put a new board on, like a front, because the board's behind the front panel, and it probably would have done better than the transport. It plays fine. For the most part, there's no issues with playback, but the recording is kind of iffy. And then I've got a little Philips, I think it is, a little portable Philips that works sometimes. It's just kind of been hit and miss for me. One of the feet is missing on my SL2000s. Got to order one. Maybe less scratch dust cover. LOL. Love mini disc so much, says Music Junkie. I think I would if I had good experience with it. Todd says, it's just received the Waterboys LP as I type. Awesome. That's cool. Old Radio says, I do too, but I like the machine. I'm getting it from. Sorry, I'm so behind on comments. How could you have never heard of Kraftwerk? I don't know. I need to look it up. Just when I thought I was caught up, the thing like loads another like 100 comments. Ivan says, I bought a degritter ultrasonic machine, my best buy ever. So maybe there's hope for it. Maybe if I find the right circumstance, I pull it out of the case and I give it another go. I goofed up the recording head on my current machine, putting in the new loading belt. Wouldn't be right unless I damaged something in the process, right? I do that every time. So glad to have been able to catch one of your live streams for a change. Music Junkie, I'm so glad you're here. Technics is Panasonic. Isn't that what I was saying? Was I saying Panasonic? That's what I meant. Maureen says, I just bought me a Jensen double cassette CD boombox, no Bluetooth, but didn't care. MCR 1500 sounds great. Congratulations, that's awesome. Corporate, I thought you were a hand model. Yeah, a hand model. Steve says the ATLP 240 is not a vintage turntable. Jody says, I've heard of people recording music to floppy disks. Yeah, I've never heard that. It's so weird. LP240 is a predecessor to the more DJ-looking LP1240. Yeah, those are both cool. I don't hear birds chirping anymore. Okay, that's good. The Music Junkie says the best teeny bopper band is still The Party. Larry, now I do hear bird chirps. Sorry. Old radios. Ever used AI music like Udio or Sono? I have not, but a friend of mine has been playing around with it lately and sending me stuff, and I'm undecided if I like it or not. I don't know if I like it. I mean, it's kind of like, and my mind is like, well, it's just the next step in like techno music, where you've got machines as a tool for an artist, and now there has to be some input for the AI, right? So there's still an artistic input. However, now it's like make a song about blah, 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 blah that sounds like blah, 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 blah versus actually like dictating what notes and cadences and things are going to happen. So it's a lot more machine and less human. I don't know. But then like for jingles and advertisements, would it really be, would anybody bat an eye at that? I don't know. Maybe that would be, maybe that's where it belongs. On hold music. One time had a Shure cartridge, great sound. Love the new AT3600 moving magnetic cart with greater fidelity range. That's a great cartridge, John. It really is. I had a Shure as well on my BSR type stacker, and it was fine. Too bad Shure no longer makes phone cartridges. I know. What are your thoughts on the fad of those dancing cactuses that repeat everything you say? I think it's hilarious. The videos are hilarious. I think they're funny. They really, really are. What CDs do you have of Michael Jackson, says Wyatt. I don't have any Michael Jackson CDs. I don't think. Maureen says, I have an original on LP, step-by-step, hanging tough. New Kids, $40. Wow, that's cool. I highly recommend the band Dealers of God, everybody. Larry says, Bose always had ads in the magazines for tabletop radio. So yeah, that was like the upgrade. Like you can get the radio or upgrade it to a CD player. Maureen says, I have a JVC LP 100 record player from 79. That's cool. Nissan is Infinity. Yep. And by the way, one time I had a loaner vehicle from Infinity. I was an Infinity dealership where we bought our car. And it had some warranty work, and it wasn't an Infinity or a Nissan, but it just happened to be bought there. It was used, but still had warranty. Anyway, I got an Infinity SUV as a loaner. It was cool. It was good, but I'm just like, this is a $100,000 SUV, and it still got as much plastic as a cheapo one. I still have a Fisher Price from 78. Me too. Vinyl Serenity. Still got my Fisher Price. Larry says, Audio Technica LP3 in white, still playing with a white acrylic platter mat. Doesn't that look good like that? And I've got the white acrylic platter mat on the white PLX 500 over here. It looks really cool. I like color matching the platter mats to the body color of the unit. Technics is now outrageously expensive, super high end though. Yeah, for the new stuff. They know what they've got, right? So they've got this niche market. Also have a sound design stereo all-in-one. Sounds great. Hey, whatever works. Whatever works. $1,200 for a 1200. I guess it makes sense, but yeah, that's it's. I think people buy that thinking that they have no choice, and that's what it takes to have a decent record player, and it's not. I mean, I just don't think you have to do that. I think you can enjoy music and have good sound quality for a lot less than that. Somebody should make a YouTube channel about that. Oh wait, I did. I tried. Vintage is great. I collect laser discs, but even in vinyl, technology moves forward. It does. I have a laser disc, one of them. I have the laser disc to Grumpy Old Men. And yes, it was in a record bin, but I knew it wasn't a record. But I bought it for $1 because it's a great wall unit. I'm not going to buy a Laserdisc player. At least I really hope not. I don't need to get into another format. Not all vintage is created equal. Fair enough. Shutter camera. Shutter camera. Were you telling me that when I had the shutter closed? This would be a good time for a K-Tel or Ronco commercial when he steps. Oh, yeah, you're talking about when I stepped away for a minute. Today's show is brought to you by insert sponsor here. Maureen says, I do love my Low 3 hooked Fisher 250 watt Sony speakers. Sounds interesting. They were good and bad vintage too. I got that 78 RPM preamp for my garage. So does that one strip off the RIAA? That's cool. Classic duals are beasts. They are. They're like clocks. They're like more mechanical than anything. Very, very little electronics going on. How much are Victrola record players? There's a lot of them. There's suitcase players anywhere from like $40, $45 up to a couple $100. They also sell a Sonos compatible Bluetooth things. I think there's called the Victrola car. What is it called? I forget what it's called, but they're like $700, $800 turntables. And I'm like, I personally think that I don't know if maybe they're doing good with it. If they're doing good with it, they're doing good with it. But yeah, you can buy. There's a lot of makes and models. Larry says K-Tel Records would cram songs on a vinyl record, 10 to 15 songs on each side. Not the best sound. You know, I was talking to a friend recently about DMM, and I don't think K-Tel Records were using DMM. They were just modulating things really tight, so a lot less bass and things like that. But yeah, it's amazing how much music you can fit. I mean, you're used to hearing 4 or 5 songs on the side of a regular record. Then you get a DMM record or a K-Tel record, and it's got, like you said, 10 to 15 songs. You're like, wow, this record's lasting forever. Music Junkie says, come to New York, Rhode Island, or our Record-ology, and I'll take you to some cool places for records. That'd be fun. I really want to go to New York. I've never been. The closest I've never been anywhere near New York City. I haven't done much East Coast. Like I've been to Virginia. I've been to DC a few times. Let's see, North Carolina. I haven't done much up on the Eastern Seaboard. I need to. I really want to go up all the way to Maine. I want to go up to Canada. I want to travel all those places. Grew up in Denver, traveled extensively on the West Coast, extensively in the Midwest. East Coast was a lot more limited, so I've got a lot more exploring to do. Old Radio says, my Philips DCC needs to be repaired again. Since I'm talking about the Old Radios, you are a poster child for if you invest in vintage, be ready to be fixing it quite a bit. Some people love it. Some people love it. Maureen says, I have over 100 K-Tel Ronco Pickwick comp albums. Wow. I think that's a cool thing to collect, though. I think that's really cool. The record companies pushed back because they were getting gypped on royalties from K-Tel. Interesting. They have everything from Autobahn to the present, old, in both English and German. I use AI music to demo my tape decks. That's a good idea. You got to hear my stuff. Share it with me. I'd love to give it a listen. I have an Empire cart I haven't heard yet, but got the new stylus. That's great. I need to get the stylus for my Empire. It's kind of expensive. Also have a rare Kraftwerk 74 hits. I got to check out Kraftwerk. Vinyl Serenity. I have over 100 K-Tel Ronco. Oh, nice, Marine. It's fascinating. Trax Records. I've heard of them too. Rain's Place in the house. Mrs. Record-ology? Rain's Place? Dang. It doesn't get much better than this. And yes, she's a moderator. Absolutely. And to all of my moderators, Larry, Rain's Place, thank you for being there. Love you guys are chatting in the back, and I'm so far on comments, I have no idea what's happening. Tim says, I broke my arm in 2 places, but it's healing. Holy cow, Tim, get better. Don't do that. One time our son broke the neighbor's arm. He was playing catch with him in the backyard. He's like, go back, go back. And the guy didn't know there was a chair behind him, fell over backwards. It was an uncomfortable dynamic after that. Of course, he didn't mean to do it. I agree. The holiday videos were fun. We need to do more of them. Would LP3 be a good turntable upgrade for an LP60? It would. And the reason why the LP3 is a good upgrade is because it gives you, it's kind of like a hybrid between an LP60 and an LP120. LP120 obviously being fully manual and LP60 being fully automatic. So the LP3 gives you the full automatic capability, but with the manual control of upgrades. So you can put on new cartridges, head shells, and you can set the tracking force, the anti-skate, all these things you can manually set, just like an LP120, and you can still queue up manually. You can do that on LP60. So it's a great hybrid thing. The only gripe I've got about the LP3 is adjusting the speed is not as easy as the LP120 because you don't get a strobe. You have to either, have it the way it comes or make an adjustment underneath like the LP60. For a while, before I had this guy, the LP3 was probably my favorite turntable. Maureen says, I'm old enough to remember going to stereo stores, nothing but stereos, sound designs, Kmart's, service merchandise. I think my 8-track player is sound design. You never know. I mean, you can't just say, "Oh, sound design is bad and Panasonic is good," or Sony. I had this. I bought it for like $10. It was actually what I bought. I think what did I buy that day? It was a reel-to-reel. And he's like, "Oh, by the way, I've got this 8-track. You want it?" I'm like, "Oh, sure." $10. It works fine. It's not imperfect, but it works fine. Then a friend of mine gave me an upgrade to a Panasonic, and it had more problems. So you know what I mean? There's good and bad for every brand. You can't just say, "Oh, all sound design is garbage." So yeah, I'm all for it. If you got a good sound design unit. Somebody was saying in a comment recently that sound design made those clarinet units for Radio Shack, which actually makes a lot of sense. My first stereo system was an Emerson I bought with my first communion money in 1980. Jody says, those 8-track radio combo players that came in several different colors. It was shaped like an egg. I remember seeing those, yes. Service merchandise. I love that store, Larry. It was cool. Rain is a cutie pie. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. I'm a lucky, lucky guy. It's so fun to have her in the chat. That is fun. Awesome. Old radios. Let's see. Music Junkie, my fave Kraftwerk album. I got to check out this Kraftwerk. Definitely do. You're right, Larry. We have an amazing family. We're very blessed. Guild made some cool vintage novelty radios in the 50s. All right. So I wanted to update you on something. I was going to film an actual show today, and it was going to be about these. These are the new Beatles records that just came out for Record Store Day. I did not think I was going to get any because they made, I don't know if I'm supposed to say the amount. They made a limited amount of these. These are still factory sealed. As you can see, they all have the barcodes. One thing that I don't care for this packaging that they do for these is they always have a sticker here. And it's kind of like a seal that it will. No, they're not hip pocket. They're 3-inch, a little smaller than hip pocket. I'll show you in a minute. Once you tear that off, it's an ugly tear, and it just kind of looks like whatever. But these are all the new 3-inch records. All of these songs were performed on, and these aren't the recordings from that, but these songs were all included in the 1964 performances of Ed Sullivan. And this year for Record Store Day, Apple Music, the Beatles, Crosley, and the Record Store Day folks got together and produced these records. And what's really cool about them is, unlike 3-inch records from the days gone by, they're designed to sound really good. And the problem with 3-inch in the past, and this is kind of what my show is going to be about. I have a 3-inch record player down here, by the way. This is a Crosley Cruiser Mini. Is this what it's? So it looks like a miniature cruiser. This one plays 3-inch records only, as you can see. It's got the same Chuo Denshi type of cartridge. It does have a pitch slider, but as you can see, there's 2 spindle options. There's the tiny one. This dates back to the 8-band of 2004-ish, and I do have an original 8-band record. But then more contemporary 3-inch records have been featuring this, and the idea was, from a proportional design standpoint, to make the record look kind of like a 45. The problem is the tolerances of 3-inch records, making them sound good, have to be a lot tighter than on larger records. So a millimeter means a lot more in a 3-inch record than it does on a 12-inch record. So what they decided to do was just put an LP hole in the record. So the hole of these, I haven't opened them yet because I'm going to do it on the actual show. But the hole size is not the tiny one. It's also not the large one. So you don't need an adapter to play these on a regular record player. Obviously, it doesn't have auto return. And I'm going to show you in the upcoming show how to play 3-inch records, these included, and make them sound fantastic. And it's a legitimate format. It's a novelty legitimate format, but it's still a legitimate format. And there's, this is, last year it was the Doors. This year it's the Beatles. And all of these, apparently Paul McCartney has to approve everything that the Beatles put out music-wise. These are Paul McCartney approved. And if you go to Ringo Starr's page, you will see a picture of him holding some of these records, these very records. Not these exact copies, but the same releases. So, yeah, and another interesting story that I wish I could tell you about that. Fascinating stuff. But we're going to be reviewing these shortly. And they also have these adapters right here that will take the tiny spindle of a 3-inch record player, and this brings it up to LP size. So we're going to give it a shot. We're going to do some direct feed sound tests. We're going to play it on probably the C100 and the Pioneer DJ turntable. Not in today's show, but in the upcoming show. So that's the sneak peek. And yeah, these are cool. They also had a Beatles 3-inch record player. It's an upgrade of the RSD3, RSD 2020. And I did not get a hold of it yet. I hope to in the coming months, but this stuff is all very limited production run. One thing that people always ask me is, where do I get 3-inch records? Where am I going to find 3-inch records? It's tough. It's not tough. You got to dig a little bit. And it's kind of like what we always talk about. The fun of physical media is the hunt. There's no guarantee you're going to find it. Unlike streaming, it's guaranteed. You want to play a song, you play it, move on. But if you want to get, and one of these, by the way, I don't know which one, but one of these I was told was the first time it was released as a single ever. In the history of the Beatles, it's never been released as a single. Ever, ever, ever. But part of it, the fun is the hunt. If I want to get this record, there's no guarantee I'm going to be able to find this. But if I do, I've accomplished something, especially because they're made in very limited quantities. That's a really fun aspect of it. But you can look on Discogs. Discogs now, you can filter by 3-inch records. You can look on eBay. You can look on, there's a few websites out. There's a couple record stores, I think, that kind of sell them. I'll walk into a record shop every once in a while, and they'll have 3-inch stuff. It happens. Like I said, I still think it's a novelty, but it's cool to see them try to develop it. The way that, do I have any close by? Where's my 3-inch record box? I have where is it? I don't even see it right now. It must be in the other room. Because I've got all different colors and things and different eras and different types of music. They're made really in an interesting way. It's an ABS disc, ABS plastic disc with a vinyl laminate, and it's a thick vinyl laminate. You would think it'd be like, like a film, but it's not. It's actually a deep. They said it was the way it was described to me is imagine a flexi disc but thicker. So thicker than a flexi disc, but thinner than a rigid record. Put over the substrate of the ABS. And they apparently make them in a 5 or 6 inch size so that they can more accurately center it and whatnot. And then they either stamp or grind down to a 3-inch size. Anyway, that's a bit of a sneak peek of the show that I'm working on. I was going to shoot it today, but life happened and it just got in the way. Wasn't able to do it. So I don't know when that show will be up. It may take a day or so. I'm not sure. Dun, 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 dun. You might want to visit the record store just off University in Alafia. Where is that? I'm too new to know where that is, John. But I want to know. Hip Pocket record. I do have a Hip Pocket record. I do. It's an interesting format too. What do you think of the new MeTV animation channel coming out? I've not heard of it. Noah, welcome in. Noah is sporting the logo of a channel member, and that means he supports the channel as a member and the exclusive content and sneak peeks and things. And Noah, I just appreciate you and every one of our channel members, Larry, among others. Everybody can join. It's 99 cents a month. It's $1. And it really goes a long way to help support things. And I try to do behind the scenes videos and shorts and things kind of showing what's coming up ahead of time. MeTV Tunes. I have not heard of it. I need to check that out. When I first saw them, I was looking for gum inside. Make a Record-ology adapter for 3-inch players. It's a really niche market. That's not a terrible idea. I'd have to find a design. One thing so I have to work with designers. We have a viewer that's designed our stuff so far and gifted us those designs, which has been a huge blessing. I don't know enough to design 3D print files yet. I can modify them, but I haven't got to the point of designing them. So I would like to learn how to do that or work with our designer team to make that happen. So yeah, that would be cool. Also, we do have a Seberg design for playing the 2-inch spindle Seberg records, but we're having, I wouldn't call them production issues. We're having some issues that have prevented us from releasing that as soon as possible. I will say this. I do have some news about 45 adapters. This is exclusive. I was going to do this not in this way, but since you brought it up, this is a brand new 45 adapter color. It's Sky Blue Edition 45 adapter. It's not yet for sale. It will be soon on our eBay store. And that causes some confusion because people say eBay. So that's where your merch is. And they go to eBay and they see we have adapters. We always have the orange ones, and then we have these alternating limited edition colors. Right now it's going to be Sky Blue. They're custom made, 3D printed. And but then I talk about all the other merch we have because we've got shirts, hats, we've got all kinds of bags and all kinds of cool stickers and things. We've even got footwear. We got sandals. And people are like, what are you talking about? I'll see you on your eBay. Well, if you look at the merch shelf, like our store tab on YouTube, or under our videos, there'll be like a little side-scrolling thing there. That's where you get everything besides the 45 adapters. Because we use third-party production companies for those things, we have to go through a different vendor than we do for selling our own handmade products. So it's a little bit confusing. But yeah, we got all kinds of cool stuff out there. Lots of fun ways to support the channel. Mostly, the support we need is you guys being there. And you're there right now. And I thank you for that. More multi-colored splatter vinyl. Always love that stuff. Ivy Poison says, I'm soon going to order the Bampa BP2 ATC and install it on my cruiser. I did that too. And the problem is it wasn't shipping with an actual 3mm groove stylus. You have to upgrade the stylus. That was what was disappointing because you flip it to the 78 side and it was still a micro groove. It's like, why would they do that? You know why people are buying this thing. They want to have the ability to play a 78. So they started putting 2 tips. They were both micro groove. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. I never got around to upgrading it. Instead of that, because I didn't want the ceramic, I wanted for my 78s playing the 78s on my PLX. That's why I got that. I like I've said before many times, I just went for the 3600. I know it's a stereo cartridge, but and then I put on there. Well, here it is, and I put on the Van Steel 3mm groove stylus on it. So that's an Audio Technica 3600L mounted to a Pioneer DJ head shell, aluminum, with a Fan Steel aftermarket stylus for playing 78s. Sounds fantastic. And yes, it is an RIAA turntable playing a non-RIAA record with a mono record with a stereo cartridge. And it still sounds good. Okay? It still sounds great. Tim says, I love playing my hip pocket records. They sound better than you think. They can sound really good. They can. And I need to do more about that. I did one show about hip pockets years ago. Steve says, I believe all 4 factions have to approve Beatle records and merch. Paul, Ringo, Yoko, and Olivia. I wouldn't doubt it. It's learning I got to hear about how those records came to be in the months and months that it took to make it happen. And I thought that was fascinating. I have more 3-inch CDs. I remember those. That was kind of a thing for a while. Then you had like the CD business cards for a while, Larry. Remember those? Till There Was You is the first time. Okay. So Tim Allen says Till There Was You is the first time single. Universal Music since 2013, since EMI no longer exists. Hank Attack 89. What stylus do you have on your Crosley C100? Love your channel. Bought a C100 because of you. Thank you so much, Hank. I have the C100. The C100 I have now is the Champagne Color Edition, the last one we reviewed a few weeks ago. And it's got the stock cartridge, which, what was that thing? It was a green tip but not a 91. Whatever it came with in the show that I reviewed is still the one I have on there. In terms of cartridges, the PLX right now, I am running what is this? Let me clip this down. On a kind of standard issue aluminum head shell, I'm running the OM5E Ortophone. Kind of an entry level, $100-ish cartridge. It is elliptical, but it's good. I used to, and you can see I did have to do a little bit of alignment work with it, but very easily to do on a 1/2-inch mount removable head shell. Ortophones have been growing on me. They sound a little warmer than I initially thought. On the LP120 or the LP60 over here, I've got the just the standard 3600. Up here on the what is this thing? SLBD5, I've got my fanciest setup. So I've got who is this? And I'm gonna have to say who it is now. So let me see who it is. Because I want to say it right. Lost my train of thought. Yeah. The Funk Firm. Okay, the Funk Firm makes a series of hi-fi products that are audiophile grade upgrades. And so I've got a Funkfile head shell. I don't remember the model name, but it is, these are countersunk screws. And you can see that from the side, from the profile, it goes up higher than a regular head shell does. And that's because there is some give to it. It's actually mounted, shock mounted. And the idea is to float the cartridge a bit, and it gives you a little bit more sound isolation and eliminates some of those vibrations. So I've got that guy. That's a Grado Gold Prestige 2 series running on this. It sounds heavenly. It's a warm, vibrant cartridge. I pity the day that I have to get a new stylus for it because it's like a $160 stylus, and for me, that's very expensive. Okay. Well, the dog just opened the door and came in. That's weird. You don't have opposable thumbs. How did you do that? Kiki is coming in. Whether okay, you just nosed her way in. That was weird. That's strange. Fun fact: ABS plastic is the same material Lego bricks are made out of. Really? I didn't know that. Yeah, ABS has a little bit of flex to it. I've heard you can 3D print with ABS because it is more pliable. Sometimes the brittle nature of PLA drives me nuts, but it is a pretty good printing material. Also, there's fumes that are emitted when you melt ABS. But that's interesting. I didn't know that. CD3s are the shizit, says a music joke. There's a rare Patsy Cline 3-inch CD out there. I've toyed with getting, but haven't. What are your thoughts on records that come on the back of cereal boxes? They had to be cut out of the box. I think they're cool. I've got a few like that we reviewed. I need to do more novelty stuff like that. I think they're fun. I think all that stuff is fun. Flexi discs that come in like magazines and things. I think all that is fun. Music Junkie says, one of those absolutely scared me to death, Jody. Spooky Story records of 78 when I was 7. You had blue before, my friend. I got them. So, Larry, that blue you have is a different blue than this. If you see them side by side, that one's a little darker. This is a sky blue. So it's actually kind of a white, kind of a milky white blue. And the pictures that I'm going to upload to the eBay will show it off a little better. But if you look at them side by side, it's a lighter blue. So it is different. It's missing from your collection, Larry. And I appreciate you always picking those up. John says, the record store is located in west end of University of Florida near the corner of University. I'm going to have to check that out. Thanks for the tip, John. Noah says, have you seen the Glenn Miller Orchestra? I'm planning on going for the first time this summer since they're coming to my area. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I've actually befriended the Nick Hilscher, who is the previous leader of the band, and got to see them on a number of occasions. My favorite place to see them was up in Boulder, Colorado. They do a World War II festival, kind of like a Comic Con for World War II buffs. And they've got actors that come in playing characters from the era, like Bob Hope and Winston Churchill and all these guys. And they have Frank Sinatra, look-alike, sound-alikes. They've got military things. They've got airplanes. They've got an air show. They've got multiple big bands playing, and the Glenn Miller Orchestra's up there. I've done videos. Look up World War II Ball, I think is what it was called, and you'll find some videos we've done up there. Just incredible. Just incredible. Yeah, absolutely. Love the band. The newer version of the band post-COVID is a little bit it's a little bit toned down because they've had, I think from a financial standpoint, I'm just, this is me guessing. I'm not saying anything is like factual per se, but they've had to downsize the size of the orchestra a little bit. And like I said, my favorite leader is the previous one, Nick Hilscher. He was the best. Gary says, I did it and it's nasty. I'm not sure what you're talking about, Gary. You might have to clarify that because I'm not sure about what that could be something. I don't know. Music Junkie, what did you think of Paul McCartney and Youth recording as the Fireman since you're always rhapsodizing over the Beatles? I don't know about that. I'll have to check that out. Rhapsodizing. I am rhapsodizing. No worries, Hank. Thank you. I appreciate the question. That was interesting. The Ortophone Super OM10 sounds amazing. I think you were telling me that I need to upgrade it. I need to check that out. Even if it is bonded. Yeah. I don't know if I have anything that's nude. I think that's bonded too. I don't think that's even nude. I need to do a show comparing the two. Mad Magazine had a cardboard record. I bet they did. That's cool. It's a gas belching record. That's funny. Did you get Sun Ra's album of Disney covers? Pink Elephants on Parade. No, that was a Record Store Day thing. Oh, I should have checked that out. No, the only Record Store Day record I got was that Ernest Tubb record. Beatles music is top tier. So it's like, of course, they're the best. They're awesome. So what do you guys want to talk about? What else is going on? Tell me what the haps is. It is now, temperature-wise, down to 83. We were at 92 today. Man, it felt like 192. It was super, super warm out there today. Okay, so updates. So talked about the Beatles stuff. going to be doing a show about that and how to, do some direct feed sound tests and how to play them in the most optimal way. And they can sound fantastic. Like I said, the laminate is a very thick laminate. So those grooves are deeper than you would think. Some people would play it off, say, oh yeah, if it's a laminate, it's like a picture disc, it's got a very shallow groove. It'll be noisy. But they actually have a nice deep groove because of that laminate. The trick is, and this is what we're going to try, and these are sealed. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but the trick is, can we minimize the wow and flutter that 3-inch always has a problem with, to the point where they're sounding really good? And the new size spindle hole is supposed to do the trick. So we're going to play around with that and see. Just got my first Enoch Light record, big band Bossa Nova from Brazil. That's awesome, Noah. By the way, I got dinged for copyright today on an old video from like 3 years ago using that Enoch Light record, which is weird because it used to be, if they've now like decided they're going to demonetize that content, then we're going to have an interesting challenge. By the way, another mid-roll is coming. Thank you in advance for watching it. I hope that isn't the case, because that's going to be a lot of groundwork for me. Trying to find a record you can play just to demonstrate stuff without hitting copyright strikes, or not strikes. I've never had a strike. Without hitting copyright content ID matches is very tricky. Gary says, the Bampa, you missed the post above about it. Not worth doing. It sounds better through the speakers, but the direct feed is just nasty and lacking in quality. Very tinny. Okay. So Gary, my question to you is that because, like I was saying, it ships with a micro groove on both sides? That's what was weird. Is like, Via Westlife reached out to me after I did my video. He's like, yeah, you have to upgrade the stylus, because the stylus is micro groove, even though it says it's a 78. And I'm like, well, that's dumb. Why would they do that? So if you are expecting it to be rich and full because you're having the right proper size stylus in the larger groove, that 3mm stylus, and you really are playing a micro groove, then yeah, it's going to be a disappointment. Speak of the devil, I've got it right here. Here's it doesn't have the style, or does it? Yeah, it does. Here it is. It's an ugly little thing. This is the Bampa flip. And as you can see, it says LP on one side and 78 on the other. That's 78. That's LP. And it's just basically a cantilever with a two-sided tip. Unfortunately, the 78 side is still micro groove. So that's probably why it sounded bad. That's my guess. No, the LPs were not nice either. What LPs? I did miss something. I apologize. Borrow Matt's wow and flutter machine. No, that thing has standards that no human could ever live up to. Everything is crap that gets played through that. I don't think I could ever live up to the standards of that thing. I've thought about getting a scope and doing stuff like that, but it's a beginner's channel. You know what I mean? I want to live in the realm of where most people are going to be, and they're not going to go scope a record player. In fact, I just gifted my Ortophone test record to somebody because I'm never going to use the thing. Because we're not going to do that level of diagnostic testing. Anyway, the Bampa flip cartridge. What a bummer. I could get the stylus for it. I just haven't done it yet. Are you ready for the upcoming Common album produced by Pete Rock? Not aware of that either. So much I don't know. Have you heard of people making records out of plastic plates? No. I've heard of people making cylinder records out of cups. That's weird. Next giveaway, says Noah. Get to the point, buddy. Yeah, we need to do another one. I'm not sure when. Don't have it scheduled right now, but we did do the record player giveaways. Recently, giveaway 2. I made a mistake with the answer, and so I actually ended up giving away 2 turntable setups with speakers and everything. I think they were both complete setups, and so hopefully the people that won enjoyed those, and it helped me clear out some space. So yeah, we do need to do some more giveaways. What other YouTube channel gives away record players and records? I don't think any do. Not many anyway. So yeah, we've definitely got some things to give away, and yeah. Sacramento, John says, Sacramento, 112 degrees in 1992, and Montana minus 50 and 68. Been there, done that. You've had all extremes. 2:30 a.m. here in the UK, says Gary. Good night. Cheers, my friend. Thank you so much for being there. I appreciate it. And it's getting late here, too, on the East Coast. It's 9:30 p.m. right now on a Friday night. So I am going to bid you a fond adieu. And thank you for being there, hanging out an hour and 40 minutes together. It's a long live. I appreciate it. I just like hanging out with my friends. So I appreciate you being there. Thank you for the moderators for being there. Thank you for Larry. Thank you for Rain's Place for always being there. And for you guys for popping in and participating. It's a huge blessing. So everybody stay safe out there. Take care of each other. And thanks, Rain, for letting us borrow you. Absolutely, Larry. Absolutely. And just take care of each other. Have a wonderful weekend. And we'll have some more content coming your way soon. Thanks as always. Happy record hunting. And we will see you next time.